Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Cyberdark Yugioh deck profile for February 2021. Wanted to do an update to the Cyberdark deck. This is one of the decks that I definitely do enjoy updating the most because I do play and test around a lot with this deck on Duel Links and also in actual Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG, just with all the different playstyles you can do. It's definitely a control type of deck, focusing on not summoning out too many monsters in one turn, instead just focusing on the different Cyberdark monsters that you can equip onto with different other Cyberdark cards, or even just cards from the extra deck, you name it, and then benefiting from those cards you equip onto your Cyberdark monsters, while also just controlling the playstyle that your opponent can go into. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the Cyberdark monsters, some of the best ones are the dragon type monsters, being the newest variant, which are Cyberdark Claw. If this card is sent to the graveyard while equipped to a monster, you can target one Cyberdark monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. You can only use each of the following effects of Cyberdark Claw once per turn. So you can discard this card to add one Cyberdark spell or trap from your deck to your hand, and during the damage calculation, if a monster equipped with this card battles, you can send one monster from your extra deck to the graveyard. So the extra deck send definitely does help for the different equips. One of the main ones you'll want to send just for power-ups is Five-Headed Dragon, being able to then focus on this card with your different Cyberdark equipped monsters, boosting up the dragon power that you use for your machine Cyberdarks. Definitely does come in handy. And then also with the setup search for one of your Cyberdark spell and traps, means that you have options to search for your Cyberdark impact or even your field spell using this monster. And then also just being able to use each gives you the equip and then also the search power, varying depending on which one you want to search out. One of the better searches definitely comes in the form of Cyberdark Cannon. If it's sent to the graveyard while equipped, you can draw one card. You can only use each of the following effects of Cyberdark Cannon once per turn. You can discard this card to add one machine Cyberdark monster from your deck to your hand, and during damage calculation, if a monster equipped with this card battles, you can send one monster from your deck to the graveyard. So this will set up even more cards. You can even send cards like Cyberdark Claw, or our next go-to monster, which will be after the Cyberdark monsters, which we go over. But with Cannon having that setup and also draw power, being able to search out our main go-to Cyberdark monsters being the machine monsters, that can also focus on those playstyles depending on which one you want to equip onto the field. You have different variant searches because each one of the different machine Cyberdark monsters have different effects that can benefit depending on which one you have on the field. For those monsters, I'm also running 3 Cyberdark Edge. Now, the amount of different Cyberdark machine monsters can vary. You can even drop down the numbers for each of these to 2 if you wish. If you were to do so, you can just add in a hand trap of choice to make up for the 3 additional spots that you would have by dropping down these Cyberdark numbers to 2. But I do run some draw power that relies on Dark Monsters, which is Allure of Darkness, which we'll get over when we go to the spell cards. But having these additional numbers means I can banish those extra numbers for these Cyberdarks with more draw power in mind, and not have to worry about not having the resources needed for my fusion summons or even just equipping on the different dragon monsters in the graveyard. So with Cyberdark Edge, if this card is normal summon, you can target one level 3 or lower dragon monster in your graveyard, equip that dragon to this card, and it gains attack equal to the original attack of the monster equipped to it by this effect. And this card can attack directly. If it does, using this effect, its attack is half during damage calc only. If this card be destroyed by battle, you can destroy the equipped monster instead. So you have the option to equip either Claw or Cannon onto this card for that setup, just being a big benefit for the attack boost as well that you can provide onto your monster. And being able to attack your opponent directly means you can hit for some pretty good damage, also for the fact that you'll raise this card up to 2400 depending on which one you equip on, just having the additional effect of that card to either send a card from the main deck or extra deck to the graveyard and then hit for 1200 points against your opponent. And I also run 3 Cyberdark Horn. I'm going in order of what I think are the best Cyberdark monsters as well, with Edge being the best, Horn being the second best. With this card, having the same equip effect for your dragon monster onto this card, gaining the attack as well. And if this card attacks a defense monster, you can inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. I definitely do like the direct damage that Edge provides just for the bigger damage you can hit, but being able to hit some of your opponent's weaker defense monsters for some pretty high damage using Horn as well definitely won't, go unused if your opponent's on more of the defensive, or if that's all they can do if you limit them with some of the trap cards we're running in the deck. With the final of these Cyberdark monsters being Cyberdark Keel, This one, like I said, probably the weakest of the three. Still like to use it for the option to go into our fusion monster, which is either Cyber Darkness Dragon or Cyber Dark Dragon, depending on the fusion setup we have. And then having the same equip power as the other Cyber Darks we run on the deck. If this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you inflict 300 damage to your opponent. If this card will be destroyed by battle, you can destroy that equipped monster instead. So yeah, it's just a smaller burn damage with this card. Not as useful, I would say, as Horn or Edge, but still in the deck just for the different options for the fusion plays, and also for the fact that if you wanted to have one additional monster on the field, this is just an additional card to add and run for that setup. With the last of the monsters in the main deck being one Lang Ling. It is a level 3 dragon monster. Once per turn, you can either target one face-up monster you control, equip this card to it, or unequip this card and special summon it. The original attack of that monster equipped with this card becomes 1000. It can make a second attack during each battle phase. Also, if the equipped monster be destroyed by a battle or card effect, destroy this card instead. It's just another easy way to equip on and to protect one of these Cyberdark monsters we have on the field using their own effect, since this is a level 3 dragon monster. And then just being able to have that resource on the field to use definitely will come in handy for those plays. And as I said before, if you wanted to run a hand trap of choice in the deck, you can just take out one of each copy of the machine Cyberdark monsters and put in either, Effect Veiler, Ash Blossom, you name it, into this final spot for these 3 cards. And that is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. For the field spell, I run 2 Cyberdark Inferno. Cyberdark effect monsters you control that are equipped with a face-up equipped card cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Also, your opponent cannot target them with card effects, and you can target one Cyberdark monster you control, return it to the hand, then immediately after this effect resolves, you can normal summon one Cyberdark monster. You can only use this effect of Cyberdark Inferno once per turn. If this card in its owner's control is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can add one polymerization spell or fusion spell from your deck to your hand, which that'll definitely come in handy when we're going for the Cyberdark fusions. But the main point of this card is to recycle your Cyberdark monsters. Let's say your opponent attacks into one, getting rid of the dragon material since that would protect it from being destroyed. Then you can bounce it back to your hand and then summon out another Cyberdark to then re-equip the dragon monster onto it, and then just have to do the same again if your opponent tries to destroy that monster and it survives the full 2 attacks, which, like I said, you can limit your opponent with their plays with the trap card lineup we're running in the deck using this card. I only run the 2 though. You can search this card out with terraforming. You don't really need 3 of it. It doesn't benefit you with giving you a search in the deck. It just sets up what you already have on the field and reuses those plays. So having additional numbers of this card in your hand definitely won't benefit you in any way. I only run the 2 of copy, so if one does get destroyed, you have the search power, but still the potential to go into another copy also. And then for some of the fusion setup, I run 2 Cyberdark Impact. I used to run this card at 1, but I wanted to see it more often. You have search power for it in the deck, but running it at 2 just means I can also see it that much more quickly. Being able to fusion summon one Cyberdark Dragon from your extra deck by shuffling one of each Horn, Edge, and Keel from your hand, field, or graveyard into the deck as fusion material, which is easy to set up. You can either open these cards up in your hand, and with me running the maximum of each of the numbers at 3 in the deck, you can see that more often, and then just an easier way to summon out Cyberdark Dragon onto the field. For some of the one-ofs for the spells, I run 1 Overload Fusion and 1 Polymerization. Cyber Darkness Dragon needing just 5 Cyber Dark effect monsters to make it, and being the fact that it has to be fusion summoned. The same with Cyber Dark Dragon if you have both options available to you. The Banish can sometimes come in handy with Cyberload Fusion, and the fact that both these cards are just searchable off of our field spell. For some additional numbers for the spells, I am running 3 Allure of Darkness, just the draw power I definitely like to rely on in the deck, the fact that we run plenty of multiples. So if I see 2 Cyberdark Horn in my hand, I can banish the 1 and hopefully draw into some potentially better monsters, including Cannon and Claw, that I can use for searching out other cards in the deck. And the fact that you don't have to special summon much in this deck, you can always wait to fusion summon and just rely on your normal summon equip. I run 3 Pot of Duality. This is just great to search into some more proper cards I can use for my plays. It will limit you for the special summon, but like I said, most of the time your play should just revolve around you equipping a card onto the Cyberdark monster you normal summon this turn. And then for the rest of the one-ofs, I run 1 Harpy's Feather Duster and 1 Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial can set up any of the dragon monsters in our graveyard, and the 1 Harpy's Feather Duster can clear pesky back row that my opponent may use to disrupt my Cyberdark plays. I don't run Monster Reborn just for the fact that you have to normal summon out your Cyberdark monster, so special summoning them from the graveyard will take away and be limited with monster, when searching out with Pot of Duality, and then just taking away from the fact that you won't really gain any benefit from those cards on the field when they're special summoned. And then that is it for the spells. For the traps, I run 3. There can only be 1. Once again, going off of the fact that your main play in the deck will be each player can only control 1 of each type. If a player controls 2 or more of those monsters, they must send 1. So even just controlling 1 card, if you have the edge set up on the field with 2400 attack, if your opponent can't benefit from these additional cards on the field, you can just swing at them for more and more damage until game is met. If you don't want to run, there can only be 1. You can always try Infinite Impermanence as another card. This is just great for the lockdown against my opponent, since I'm also running 3 summon limit, taking away from the fact that they can only control 1, and also just summon 2 times per turn makes it that much better. And the fact that we're not limited to too much for the fact that we could just normal summon once and then be good for that turn. We don't need more than 2 summons in this deck to rely on, so 3 summon limit definitely does come in handy. And then just stopping even more of our opponent's monster effects in plays, 3 Solemn Strike to finish off the main deck. Like I said, this is a big control deck that focuses on you getting out the particular Cyberdark monster you may want for that play, and then just being able to take away from all of your opponent's resources. So maxing out the numbers of these different traps in the deck will definitely benefit for those plays altogether. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. I run 2 Cyber Darkness Dragon. This is the evolved version of Cyber Dark Dragon, needing 5 Cyber Dark effect monsters. It must be fusion summon. If this card is special summon, you can equip 1 dragon or machine monster from your graveyard to this card, and it gains attack equal to the original attack of that monster equipped by this effect. When your opponent activates a card effect, quick effect, you can send 1 equipped card you control to the graveyard, negate the activation, and destroy it. This is definitely a powerhouse for the fact that you can equip one of the other fusion monsters we're running on it for benefiting for that play. The original one being a Cyber Dark Dragon, which you need not 5, but just 1 Horn, Edge, and Keel to summon out. If this card's special summon, you can target 1 dragon monster in your graveyard, equip that target to this card. It gains attack equal to the original attack of that monster equipped by it, and it also gains 100 attack for each monster in your graveyard. Having the boost for this card and the protection play, just like the other Cyber Darks, but Cyber Darkness Dragon has the additional effect negation, both being able to gain some pretty powerful attack, and Cyber Darkness also having double the attack of Cyber Dark. It also just comes into play as to which one you want to summon out at the proper time. For the other fusions, I run 1 5-headed dragon. This is not for summoning out in the deck, but more for sending from the extra deck using our Cyber Dark Claw. For during damage calc of a monster equipped with this card battles, sending 1 monster from your extra deck to the graveyard, you can set up 500 dragon in the graveyard for you to then equip with one of your Cyber Dark fusion monsters, boosting them up by the attack of 5-headed dragon for a pretty powerful boss monster on the field. Lastly, for the fusions, I run 1 Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, just needing 2 dark monsters on the field, except for tokens. Can be easily met if you just need another easier powerhouse to summon out. Let's say you're just summoning 2, and then you fusion them into this fusion monster to rely on. It can also just be sent from the extra deck as another boosted card on the field. For the Xyz monsters, I run 1 number 47 Nightmare Shark, 1 Leviair the Sea Dragon, and 1 Abyss Dweller. It's very rare that we go into Xyz summons, but I still like to have them as an option in the deck to go into. And then for the Link monsters, I run 1 Predaplant Vert Anaconda. This is in here for more fusion setup if need be with all the different fusion spells I'm running in the deck. 1 Union Carrier. With this card, it can't be used as Link material. The turn it is Link summon. You can target 1 face-up monster you control, equip 1 monster to it from your hand or deck with the same original type or attribute. Just being able to equip another card onto our Cyberdark using Union Carrier makes it a great setup for protecting those cards more and more. I also run 1 Wee Witch's Apprentice, 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Nightmare Cerberus, and 1 Nightmare Unicorn to finish off the rest of the Link monsters. Of all of the Link monsters I go into the most in this deck, though, would definitely be Vert Anaconda and Union Carrier, just for the easy setup they can provide to the main playstyle of the Cyberdark deck. And as for the go-to plays, like I said before, relying on Cyberdark Claw to discard this card to add 1 Cyberdark spell or trap from my deck to my hand, so I can normally add the field spell, activating the field spell, which will protect my Cyberdark monsters on the field. And as long as I have another Cyberdark in my hand, I can summon out that card, equipping it with Cyberdark Claw from the graveyard. And then during damage calc, if a monster equipped with this card battles, being able to just attack directly against your opponent with Cyberdark Edge, you can use Cyberdark Claw to then send 5-headed dragon to the graveyard, which will then set up the play where if you were to fusion out 1 of your other Cyberdark monsters later on for the fusion play, summoning out Cyberdark Dragon, then equipping onto it, making it 6,000 attack, and then having the additional monsters in your graveyard, or if you shuffle them back with Cyberdark Impact, you'll miss out on that fusion play, but still the option of the powerhouse of 5-headed dragon equipped to this card can hit for even more massive damage, especially if you attacked into your opponent with Cyberdark Edge already, dealing them that little damage that can be finished with cards like Cyberdark Dragon. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy the video. Like I said, Cyberdarks are definitely probably one of my favorite decks from the GX era that aren't heroes, but definitely one that I will continue to play, and maybe we'll see some more support for it later down the road, in the form of some new dragons that we can have for more search power. I would definitely like to see what they end up doing with this deck. But until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.